Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for stopping by today. I want to apologize for two things. Number one, I'm traveling and so my sound is going to be a little bit different because I don't have my microphone with me. Secondly, I want to apologize for that brief little hiatus I kind of took. It was an unintentional hiatus, but life just got busy and I just needed to take some time to kind of get my focus refocused. I had a couple of graduates this year and just a lot going on in life. So I'm back now and I have a fun project for you today. Today I'm going to be using this Heidi Swapp Ombre foil. This is the pink to gold. And I'm also going to be using these Deco Foil peel and stick toner sheets. Now these are available with the adhesive on them or without, so you can choose whatever is appropriate for you. But I like them because the toner is nice and sealed in and you don't get it kind of all over your hands like you can if you try to create your own toner paper. So I'm cutting down the toner paper and I'm also cutting down a piece of the foil, and I'm going to use my ink machine to fuse this onto the toner paper. Now, because it is a toner paper, you do need heat in order to set that foil into the toner paper, but you can use a laminator. I am using the mini mink today. You can also use the full-size mink, whatever works for you. Now, if you're not using a toner paper, you can try something else like a full sheet adhesive, and I have had luck with that, but you don't get the durability that you do get with toner paper, so you can kind of experiment with something like this. Now, I'm running it through my ink machine. I'm using the 3 setting, and I do want to point out that I could not find my large carrier sheet, so what I had to do was kind of overlap 2 of the 6x6 toner sheets, and this worked okay. But I did end up with a little line in the middle. And do note that when I put them through my ink machine, I made sure that as it went through that the top flap, the opening, was facing towards me so that it wouldn't catch in the machine as it was going through. So now you can see I have this beautiful piece of foiled paper. It has some adhesive on the back, and I'm going to be using the Hero Arts Prayers Stamp and Cut Set. And I'm using the die cut here, and I'm just positioning it onto that foil paper where I can kind of get both the pink and the gold in there. And I used a little micropore tape to hold it in place, and I ran it through my die cut machine, and I did use my precision base plate to make sure that I got through all of those layers. So you can see this gorgeous die cut that I have, and I'm going to be combining that with the Simon Says Stamp Clustered Leaves die. And I'm cutting that out of vellum. Now, once again, I have my precision base plate in place because I am using 2 layers of vellum as I'm cutting those leaves out because I wanted to have an extra set just in case, and it turned out working in my favor to have an extra set on hand. Now I have the Simon Says Stamp wide background stripe, or I don't know, I can't think of exactly what it's called, but I will put it in the description below. I've inked it up with some Altenew Morning Frost dye ink. This is one of my favorite gray dye inks, and I'm stamping it onto a piece of Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and I just laid the paper on top of it and then put a piece of scratch paper over to press that paper onto the stamp and get that ink to transfer. So in order to stamp the rest of my sentiment, I'm going to use my Mini Misty to make sure that I get it stamped in just the right place. And this will also allow me, if I do mess up the stamping, to kind of re-stamp in the same exact spot. So I've positioned my sentiment that says "You're in my" onto my paper. I've picked it up with the lid of the Misty, and then I've stamped it in some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. So now as I'm laying out my card, I kind of decided I didn't want this leaf cluster all in one piece, so I kind of just folded it and tore it in half, and now I'm just positioning the 2 pieces kind of coming in from that top right corner and then also from the kind of middle bottom left. And that's how I'm going to end up positioning these leaves on this card front. But I decided that this card needed just a little more detail, and so I'm using the Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die to cut this out and add a little bit of stitch detail onto this card front. So you can see I've just positioned it on there using a little micropore tape and run it through my Big Shot machine. And then I have that beautiful stitched border right around that card front. And I will also do that to the piece that I set behind that as well. Now, I ended up deciding that I wanted a little dimension to this, and I had already cut out that Prayers die cut, and truth be told, I did mess it up. But I decided I wanted to add a piece of fun foam behind this in order to have that die cut have a little bit of dimension to it and not have to use foam tape. So what I did was I revealed the adhesive by pulling off the backing, and then I put the piece of fun foam right behind that bit of foil. I put my die right back onto that foil and then cut it out, and now I have a piece that has some dimension to it. And I'm using a little bit of multi-medium in the matte finish to adhere that down onto my card front. Now, if there's one beef I have about the multi-medium in the matte finish, it's that it does not set up very fast. Now, it has a great hold when it does set up, but in order to kind of work my way around that, I find that I need to put kind of like something heavy over those die cuts as they're setting up. So I've just placed a clear block over that sentiment as it dries. And while that dries, I'm going to use this DMC gold thread, and I'm using 2 strands of this thread and tying a bow. And I've just kind of adjusted it there, trimmed off the ends, and now I'm attaching it onto my card with a little bit of the multi-medium in the matte finish. Now, I was looking at this card and I just felt like it needed something more, some texture or something. And so what I did was I took that other die cut that I created and I used an embossing folder to add a little bit of texture to it. And I am going to replace that flat vellum die cut with this embossed die cut instead. Now, this is the same exact composition that I used before, only this vellum has a little bit of embossing, and I used like a polka dot folder. I was unable to find it because it's kind of an older one, and I think it may be discontinued, but you can, I'm sure, find some sort of polka dot embossing folder just to add a little bit of texture to that leaf pattern. So I finally got that card front the way that I wanted, and now it's time to assemble my card. I added a piece of fun foam behind that card front, and now I'm attaching it onto a piece of Simon Says Stamp Fog cardstock that I also used the stitched rectangle dies to cut out so that I have that matching stitch detail on both the card front and the card base. And then that piece of fog cardstock I attached to a top folding card base made of some Nina Solar White 110 pound cardstock. Now I am just finishing this card off with some embellishments. I'm using some of the clear droplets from Pretty Pink Posh mixed in with some of the sparkling clear sequins just to keep that nice and soft and subtle. And you can see there that beautiful ombre foil die cut that I have. And I really wanted to keep the focus on that beautiful foil die cut that I have on the card. So I kept everything else really soft. And I think this would make a really nice sympathy card because it does have that really soft, subtle feel to it, except for that foil die cut that's kind of there. As always, I will have links to all the products used in this project over at my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com, where you can see more still shots and find more information. And I will have links to the featured supplies in the description at YouTube. Thanks for stopping by today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.